Hi, and thank you for joining us for this Times Higher Education International Student Seminar all about studying in the UK. I'm Jamie Ramacati, Head of Content for Student Events at THE, and we have a great panel of experts lined up to answer your questions. THE has been a trusted resource in education for nearly 50 years, and you may be familiar with the THE World University Rankings, which provide performance metrics on hundreds of universities around the world. In just a few moments, we're going to talk a bit more about the rankings and how you might be able to use them as you search for the right program. It's clear that the circumstances today have forced many to reconsider their plans to study abroad. In fact, a recent student survey conducted by Times Higher Education found that 37% of respondents had delayed their overseas study plans because of COVID-19. 16% had changed their plans, and 8% had canceled altogether. But we also know that universities' doors are still open to international students, some for remote study and some in person, and that the circumstances we're living in today could be dramatically different a year from now or even 6 months from now. We hope that today's session will provide some reassurance for those of you considering studying in the UK and demonstrate why the UK is an exceptional choice for your studies. Today's session is co-hosted with our partners, SIUK and Casita. SIUK provides free, independent advice and support to international students applying to study in the UK and can help you through each step of the application process. Casita is a student accommodation marketplace that provides listings for high-quality student accommodation, easing the stress of finding the right place to live while you're studying abroad. We're very lucky to have panelists today from both SIUK and Casita, and they'll be able to share a little bit more about how they can support you at the various stages of your education journey. At the end of our Q&A, we have an exciting presentation from Amazon. Stay online for this session to learn about the AWS Educate Challenge, an inter-university initiative from Amazon Web Services where students from the UK and Ireland build cloud computing skills while competing for a chance to win prizes like Alexa devices, Amazon vouchers, and an invitation to meet with the Amazon student recruitment team to learn how to put forward a competitive application for jobs with Amazon. Cloud computing has been listed as an in-demand skill for employers since 2014, and the AWS Educate program prepares students for the cloud jobs of tomorrow. We'll have a representative from AWS with us at the end of the panel discussion to share more about this program. In a moment, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Sita Bardwa, Student Content Editor at THE, so that she can give us an overview of the higher education landscape in the UK and tell us a little bit about how UK universities have performed in the THE World University Rankings. Following that, we'll have a few remarks from Professor Maggie Dahlman, Vice President at Imperial College London, and then we'll dive into the Q&A with our panel of experts. Please use the Q&A function to post your questions throughout the session, and you can also use hashtag THE Student Seminar on social media, and we'll keep an eye out for your questions there. And now over to Sita.
I'm Sita Bardwa, the Student Content Editor here at Times Higher Education, and I'm going to provide a little overview around international students in the UK and the performance of UK universities in our World University Rankings. Here are some slides to demonstrate UK universities' performance in the rankings. The UK is a popular destination for international students. According to the Higher Education Statistical Agency, or HESA, there were 485,645 international students studying in the UK in 2018-19. The highest number of international students in the UK comes from China, followed by India, the USA, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. The most popular subjects that international students choose to study in the UK is business and administrative studies, followed by engineering and technology, and then social studies. The UK higher education sector is a welcoming and attractive option for international students, and now with the introduction of the post-study work visa, international students have even greater opportunities in the UK. This enables international students to stay and work in the UK for 2 years post-graduation. And to further help you search for universities in the UK, you can use the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. The World University Rankings are an annual ranking of universities around the world looking at how well the universities perform in 5 categories: teaching, research, citations, industry income, and international outlook. These are then broken down into 13 separate performance indicators, which you can see on the slide here. Each year, the rankings adapt and grow to include more countries and universities, and the most recent rankings, which came out at the beginning of September, included more than 1,500 universities from 93 countries and regions. The World University Rankings can help you choose a university by giving you more information about the quality of the teaching, the research output, the environment at different institutions, as well as how international an institution is. It also allows you to compare different universities across different countries, which can be really helpful. The World University Rankings table also includes some key data about universities, such as the staff-to-student ratio, the proportion of male and female students, and the percentage of international students at an institution, which can help you to further hone your choice, depending on which of these factors are important to you. There are a lot of universities in the UK, so it can be hard to know where to start looking for the right one for you. So this is where the rankings can come in. The Times Higher Education World University Rankings for 2021 ranks 101 UK universities, and the #1 university in the world also happens to be a UK university. This is the University of Oxford. 29 UK universities are featured in the top 200, and some 20 of the universities featured in the ranking are located in the capital city of London. The top Scottish university is the University of Edinburgh, the top Welsh university is Cardiff University, and the top Northern Irish university is Queen's University Belfast. And some of the universities with the highest percentages of international students are LSE, which has 72% international students, Imperial College London with 58%, and UCL with 55%. UK universities also take the #1 position in a number of our subject rankings, including medicine, life sciences, and computer science. A UK university features in the top 10 of every single one of our 11 subject rankings. So if I haven't mentioned your particular subject, then it's worth heading over to our website and exploring each interactive subject ranking table to see how UK universities perform there. The subject rankings are a great resource for students to help them compare universities across their particular subject area and see how well certain universities and countries perform in their area of interest. UK universities also perform strongly in our impact rankings, which look at how well universities perform against the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, which aim to tackle some of the world's largest issues, including poverty, climate change, gender inequality, and education, among others. 4 UK universities feature in the top 20 of the overall impact ranking, and a UK university also tops the table for SDG 15, which is for life on land. We have more rankings than the ones that I've mentioned here, and you can find them all on the Times Higher Education website, and you can access the fully interactive tables. Within those tables, you can then click through to each university to find out a bit more information about each institution and the key data I mentioned before. So if you are thinking about heading to university in the UK, then the World University Rankings, the subject rankings, and the impact rankings, as well as our other rankings, are a great resource to help you find a university that suits you, as well as exploring which universities value the same values that you do and places the issues that matter most to you at the top of their agenda. And that you can also check out the student section of the Times Higher Education website, which is dedicated to helping students find the information that they need to study abroad. So there are lots of guides around the application processes, information on scholarships, finances, student life, and student blogs that offer a first-hand account into what it is like to study in the UK. There are blogs from students from Hong Kong, India, Malaysia, Japan, and many other countries. And these students share what it was like to move to the UK, what the application process was like, what studying at a UK university is like, and also how to make friends. I'm also sure that you will have many questions around how UK universities are supporting international students during the COVID-19 pandemic and what your university life may look like as a result of increased online learning and travel restrictions. So please do ask them during the Q&A portion of this webinar. And if you have any other questions about the rankings or choosing a UK university, then please do ask that too.
Thanks, Sita. That's really helpful context for our discussion today. And of course, Sita will stick around to participate in the Q&A. As you mentioned, that Imperial College London is having one of the highest percentages of international students, and we are lucky to have a representative from Imperial with us today, Professor Maggie Dahlman. Maggie is Vice President of International, Associate Provost of Academic Partnerships, and Professor of Immunology at Imperial College London. In her Vice President and Associate Provost roles, Maggie is the academic lead on the college's international relations and societal engagement strategies. She's going to say a few words to further set the scene for us before we begin our Q&A. Maggie?
Thank you, Jamie, and hello everybody. Thanks very much for joining the webinar today. The UK does remain one of the world's most popular study destinations because, as you've just heard, our universities are amongst the best in the world and perform consistently well in the world rankings, being recognised for their excellence both in learning and teaching and in research. Indeed, being taught by leading research professors makes universities like Imperial College London really exciting places to be. We provide the opportunity to develop the skills, knowledge, critical thinking, and connections to drive forward the careers of our students, who will be very well prepared for jobs that we don't even know about yet. UK degrees are very well recognised by employers worldwide and provide a really great investment for the future. The majority of our institutions, including of course Imperial College London, have links with industry and employers worldwide, and indeed provide opportunities to interact with these organisations during the degree period. However, we all know that current and prospective students face dealing with complex challenges during the COVID pandemic, rapidly changing mobility and travel restrictions, adapting to online learning and financial challenges. But we recognise this and we're here to support you. And whilst we plan and hope to see our students in person, we've also worked incredibly hard to make our programmes available online. And we're determined that all students will experience a world-class education through a mixture of online and face-to-face working. This includes all aspects of learning, including, for instance, practical laboratory work, exchange programs with other universities in the UK or worldwide, and field trips. Our students will participate in all aspects of the learning experience, whatever we face in 2021 and beyond. Maybe I can just give you a couple of examples from Imperial. Our international research opportunities and flagship student exchanges with partners like MIT in the US are continuing in innovative virtual formats, with Imperial students joining MIT labs for virtual 8-week research projects. Our students are also pursuing virtual field trips. I never thought that would be possible. But for instance, our geoscientists have completed the first UK virtual MSc field trip. And indeed, they rated some aspects of the programme more highly than the live version. We're also in a very, very good position to reinstate all opportunities face-to-face as soon as the global situation allows, due to the range and breadth of the international relationships that UK institutions have established with our international partners. But let me stress that we are currently offering practical on-campus activities in a COVID-safe fashion, as are many other universities in the UK. For all of us, the safety and well-being of our staff and students is at the heart of our offering. At Imperial, for instance, we've instigated our own test, trace and isolate system, which is free of charge to all students who don't have symptoms. And so far, we've really only had a few cases of COVID reported on campus. Our student services range from providing advice and support on common issues like finance and accommodation, through to personal development programs and access to extracurricular activities. Our international students are showing great resilience and we are very, very proud of them. The UK is delighted to have had an increase in 9% in international undergraduate students this year, despite the exceptional challenges we all face. At Imperial College alone, we welcomed both new and returning students from over 140 different countries. UK universities are fully committed to international engagement and providing opportunities to students across the globe. We're proud of the diversity of our students and recognise that we can all learn from each other. So to all the students out there listening today, we hope to see you in the UK very, very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Maggie. I think that is so reassuring for students to hear, and I'm sure it will be a theme that we sort of echo throughout the rest of this session. I'd like to introduce the rest of our panelists now. We've already met Maggie and Sita, and they will be joined by Guy Dowdy, Director of UK Operations for SI UK, and Lee Pulford, CMO and co-founder of Casita. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We do have a handful of questions coming in from the audience, but I'd like to get the discussion going with just a few questions that I think are really topical and relevant, and I'm sure students are wondering. And Lee, I'd like to start with you. It's obviously been a really challenging year for university students, particularly international students, who in many cases have found themselves far from home and in student accommodation during a pandemic. Can you speak a little bit about how your student accommodation partners have been providing support to students in the UK?
Yeah, absolutely, Jamie. Thank you so much. And thanks for all the panel members. You know, as you said, it has been a very, very interesting year and a very unusual year, not just being in the UK, but also in your home countries, as and when you're trying to come to the UK to study. From an accommodation perspective, and that's what we do at casita.com, we help you to find the best off-campus housing accommodation options. I think our partners have done a fantastic job in ensuring that, you know, you can arrive safely, you can self-isolate if need be. And not just that, but our university partners as well have done a fantastic job, you know, in student support, student welfare, and really ensuring that you're getting all the support that you need if there does happen to be, you know, COVID cases on campus. You know, they will make sure that you're self-isolating in your room. And the main thing is excuse me, the main thing is to ensure that, you know, if you do come down with any symptoms, you obviously inform your residents or your hall manager, inform your university so it doesn't affect your attendance at school. But I think from all of our accommodation partners and from talking to our university partners, you know, that the UK remains safe and open for students to come and study. So definitely keep you know, persisting on your plans to come and study in the UK. I can see we've got over 200 participants today, so I'm interested in talking to you more about anything accommodation related that you may have. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much. And again, I think just further message of reassurance that, you know, it is possible, and that your accommodation partners and all of the support services at universities are really taking very good care of students during these difficult times. Guy, I'd like to turn to you for the next question. I think for many just who are maybe in the early stages of thinking about studying in the UK, that decision and the idea of studying abroad has become even more daunting than ever. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how SI UK has been supporting students and what you can do to help students who might be in the very early stages of considering studying in the UK. I think we've got quite a few students in attendance today who are just kind of starting to research and think about doing this in the coming year or so, and maybe SI UK can help them get started.
Well, exactly, that is our job. We're finding that a lot of what we're doing right at the moment, as you say, students are taking perhaps a little bit longer and being quite cautious about what they're looking at, where they're looking to study, and really that's a very good thing anyway. It's a big decision to study abroad anyway, and so it's a very good idea that students take it very seriously and are quite cautious. A lot of it is about reassuring students that the UK, as Maggie said, is open and that it's safe to study here, and reminding them that the universities are putting the safety and welfare of students right at the heart of everything that they do. And then a lot of it is just going through our normal processes because things are open. It is safe to study here. Yes, there are changes at the moment and developments. There's a lot more online study that Maggie again mentioned in her introduction there. But the campuses are open, and really it's business as usual as far as we're concerned from that point of view.
Great, thank you. And Maggie, I think just kind of tagging on to what Guy just said, students are, you know, considering studying in the UK. They're sort of starting this process. It is a daunting prospect because of the current circumstances, but it's also a very big investment for students and their families. Maybe you can talk a little bit about why it is still a really worthwhile investment to make, even if the experience is sort of partially on campus and partially online. What are the benefits of getting a degree from a UK university, and how might that experience be enriching for an international student?
So I think the investment in a UK degree is really an investment for life. As I mentioned, you know, we're fantastically well connected to employers all over the world, not just in the UK. And so we can connect students with those big employers. I think, you know, there's been a lot of discussion about whether students are getting the full student experience, and all universities in the UK are trying their very hardest to make this the best possible experience. Inevitably, some of the socializing has taken a different life form, actually, and our wardens in some of our halls of residence have just been incredibly creative at designing activities, whether they're online or in person, which are COVID safe, but still provide the opportunity for students to get that kind of living away from home experience, making new friends, setting their networks, their global networks up for life. And I think, you know, the only place that you can get this kind of opportunity, this kind of networking, setting your career up for life is at university. And you know, it's, I think, worth every bit of investment in the future. You know, it's going to be different, but universities are so adaptable. Our scientists, our students are so adaptable. It makes us all very fleet of foot, and that's what we're going to need in the future. And obviously Imperial College London is a science, engineering, medicine and business school university, and those are the kinds of degrees that are going to be really critical in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you. Before we jump into the questions popping in from students, Sita, I just want to revisit the rankings for a minute and talk about how students might be able to further use these rankings. You highlighted some of the very top UK universities in the rankings during your presentation. You mentioned that there are 101 UK universities in that ranking set. We know that there are so many amazing universities in the UK to choose from, each with their own strengths and exciting things to offer students. And I think sometimes students might think, well, the rankings won't be useful to me because I'm probably not going to go to a top 10 schools, so the rankings won't be particularly helpful. But maybe you can talk to us a little bit about how the rankings can be used as a tool to help identify a best fit program, and how it's more than just kind of listing the very top universities in a given place.
Yeah, so I think the fact that we include so many UK universities within the rankings is kind of a first step into showing that you don't just have to, or we don't only look at the top universities, as we mentioned. We go far beyond Oxbridge and the Russell Group to rank UK universities. So as I said in my presentation, we do look at lots of different factors, and the universities will submit their data based on those different factors. And then the rankings tables are really there for students to be able to customize their search depending on the things that they are most interested in. So I would say you can use the different rankings at different stages of your search. So if you're right at the beginning of your search and you have no idea where you want to go and you're really confused, the World University Rankings table is probably the best one to go to, because you can look at every single UK university that we rank. You can filter based on those different indicators that I mentioned before. So whether you're more interested in research, or whether you're more interested in the number of international students or the environment at a university, you can filter through, and all the tables are interactive for you to be able to do that. And then once you've kind of maybe selected a few different universities based on your criteria, you can then look at some of the other rankings. So the subject rankings, which are a really great resource to kind of help you see which universities perform well in your particular subject. And again, you can kind of filter those tables as well. So you can use the different rankings at different stages. And because we collect so much different data, you can really customize your search based on what you're most interested in.
That's great. That's really helpful. And I hope after today's discussion, students will visit the rankings pages and have a look. And as you said, all of the tables are really interactive. So it gives the students a lot of ownership over how to sort of digest and dissect that information and then use it in a way that's helpful to them. Thank you. I want to go to questions from the audience now, and Guy, this might be one for you. It's from Lauren, and she's asking about how to identify international entry scores or entry requirements for UK universities. So if you're coming from somewhere else and you don't know how to sort of interpret the entry requirements, what's the best way for students to sort of figure out how their sort of local scores and schooling would match up to UK entry requirements that they might find on UCAS?
Well, depending on where she is in the process of her search, most universities actually on their international pages will have equivalencies. So if she's in country X, you can just go down and it'll tell you approximately what the entry requirements are from that country. Obviously, every country has quite a few different awards within that country, and so yours might not be on the list. I'd say if you're pretty sure of what university you want to go to, then you'll probably find that within their website they will tell you the equivalencies. If you're unsure at all, you can always use a service like ours, and we are in close contact with the universities, and we'll be able to help you by actually contacting the admissions tutor or the admissions team and finding out whether your actual results are good enough or suitable for that university.
That's great. Very helpful. Thank you. Maggie, I'm going to give this one to you, but it's a tough one, a delicate one to answer, I think. The question is, how has sort of the double whammy of Brexit and COVID-19 affected employability in the UK? Are there more or less jobs than before? And I think maybe also, if we can just kind of tack on to that, any comments about opportunities for students to gain work experience while they're studying here, because I know that's a big topic that often comes up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think work while you're studying to kind of help pay your way is something that we appreciate a lot of students have to do. And certainly, historically, quite a lot of those jobs have been in the hospitality sector, which has been very badly hit. I could say at Imperial College, actually, we employ our students in many different ways, including in our schools outreach and engagement work. And because we recognise the need for students to work their way through university, we actually pay our students to do those kinds of jobs. And actually, it's much better than working in a bar or in a restaurant, because you really gain something that you can put on your CV. And I know other universities do the same thing. I don't think we've realised what the full impact of Brexit is going to be yet. And in terms of long-term employability, there's clearly an issue with unemployment rising in the UK. But I think you just have to look at the jobs that are protected in the economy and will be protected through Brexit or whatever we face, actually. And so if you get a good degree in a really important STEM-based subject, you're going to get a job. You're going to still be employable. Companies will still need those skills. And so kind of technical, medical, engineering skills, I don't think there'll be any issue at all. In fact, I think those are the jobs that will be there in abundance. And certainly so far our students have not seen any decline in the kinds of jobs that they can find.
Great, thank you. Maggie, this one might also be for you, and Guy, you might also have something to contribute to this. It's a question from a student in the audience that asks, if many students have deferred their admission this year, will the intake for next year be proportionately reduced? And I think that that's a really valid concern. You know, you've got all these students who were admitted for this year who said, actually, I don't think I want to study online. I think I'll just sit this year out and wait for another year. Meanwhile, you've got a whole nother admission cycle happening, a whole nother group of students applying and preparing to study. And I think for those students, it's a bit concerning that those students who have deferred are maybe kind of taking up places and making it more difficult to get in for the upcoming fall term.
Well, I can certainly start on that one. And in fact, we had been very concerned about this very issue, but there are actually only 3 courses where we've had to defer a significant number of students, or a significant number of students have asked to be deferred. So the deferral was much, much lower than we had been concerned about. So actually, I don't think it's going to be nearly so much of a problem as we and certainly students had anticipated. So I think it's good. We've taken, actually this year, we've increased the number of students that we accept where we could do that in order to mitigate this issue right from the beginning. So I honestly, for Imperial and from many of my colleagues in other top UK universities, I don't think it's going to be as much of a problem as we had been concerned for.
Great. Guy, anything to add?
Yes, I mean, obviously we deal with a very wide range of universities, and we are finding that there are more deferrals than usual. I can't put a percentage on it yet because the sort of September intake has been slightly extended this year, and so we're not quite finished. But we're finding that there's quite a few deferrals, but it's not even. There are certain areas, Southeast Asia, for instance, there are more deferrals from than, say, India and Pakistan. And again, from the EU, there are some more deferrals. What we're finding, though, is that a lot of these deferrals aren't all the way through to next year when it might impact in the way that the questioner suggested, but rather deferrals to the January intake, and that a lot of institutions are having much bigger January intakes than they would normally be having. And so it sort of balances out. I mean, I was just doing our own London office figures on that yesterday. And so, yes, there are quite a few more deferrals than there would be in a normal year. But the vast majority of them are through to January, and we expect them to be starting in January, and are sort of keying into the extra intake that was put on in the January session by universities. And so I don't think, where I completely agree with Maggie, is I don't think it'll have that much of an impact on next September's September's intake.
Great. Really good to know. And again, I think reassuring for students who are in the early stages of their process that if, by the time they apply and are ready to attend, they may not have lingering impacts from deferrals and things like that in previous terms. So that's great. Lee, I want to turn to you. We've had some questions about just sort of general welfare and how a student should go about selecting an accommodation. At what stage in the process do they need to start thinking about that, and what types of accommodation are available to them? I think for some, the idea of moving into a very large building with lots of students might sound not like a great idea at the moment for obvious reasons. And so maybe you can provide some reassurance and also just some understanding of what the process is like for selecting the right type of accommodation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jamie. What we're seeing is that students are, thinking about accommodation earlier on in the process now. And I guess the reason for that is they want to be more informed. Obviously, you've got a few different types of accommodations that you could look at. You could be in a university managed halls, whether that's on campus or very close to campus. You could be in a purpose-built student accommodation, off-campus accommodation, which is very close to campus, or you could be in a private apartment or a private let room or a shared house. I think in terms of safety and sort of cleanliness, obviously we always refer our students to the purpose-built student accommodations, which are close to universities. They're very well managed. They have fantastic hygiene and cleanliness standard operating procedures to make sure that the common facilities and the common areas are always kept clean, and the same for the university managed and run accommodation options. I think, you know, in terms of your general feeling about when you're looking for a room, I think you want to try and reach out directly to, you know, the university student hub or the university halls manager, or to the off-campus providers, and that's where Casita can help you to guide you through the process of selection. One thing I wanted to mention is I get a lot of questions about, you know, what are the refund policies? What happens if my class goes completely, you know, online? I think what the universities and even the purpose-built student accommodations have done very well is to give you as much flexibility as possible. That means, you know, for any reason, if you can't make it to the UK, if you can't get your visa, or there is no flights, or there are travel restrictions from your home country to the UK, they will return your deposit. There's other flexible arrangements, such as if your class is just deferred by a few weeks, you will, or a month, or even 2 months, as we've seen with the September intake, with some students still trying to arrive now, or even November, you will not start paying for your tenancy until you actually arrive in the UK. And I think that's great flexible policies that universities and off-campus operators have put in place. So I think it gives you some security to, I would definitely advise you to try and book your room as early as possible. The reason for that being is that there is no longer any twin or dual occupancy rooms available. So, you know, that what that has meant is that any students that may have been friends or couples staying in the same room are now in single ensuite or studio rooms. So they are, you know, looking to either stay on campus or off campus. So I definitely, you know, encourage you to start your research early. And I think the best point of doing that is when you're getting to the stage of selecting your final university. As you're, you know, working with a counsellor or an agency in your home country, and you're starting to get to that final choice, start to think about accommodation as well. And I think that's the best point of time that you can really start to lock in your room, and rest assured that they're doing everything possible to make sure that those facilities and rooms are kept safe, the common areas, any shared kitchens and shared gymnasiums and common spaces are clean at all times.
That's great, Lee. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, Casita is a great resource for them to look at really at any stage in the process, just to sort of understand what's available and what options exist, and to sort of do a little bit of browsing and to provide that kind of reassurance about what's out there.
Absolutely. I mean, Casita.com is essentially a booking.com or an Agoda for students. So you can type in your university or your pathway provider or your English language school, and you can see all the options that are close to that university. You can filter by price, by room type, by facilities. So we've really built out a platform that enables you to, take a look at virtual tours, the images, get some reviews on those rooms. And of course, our customer service teams, which we have all around the world. We've got 3 customer service hubs in Cairo, Delhi, and Bangkok, and gives us 24-hour coverage to really ensure that, you know, we're answering all your questions, because it is a large investment, you know, for your tuition fees, your accommodation, and your living costs. So yeah, absolutely feel free to use Casita.com as that resource online for accommodation.
Perfect. Thank you. And as you mentioned, it's a big investment. Maggie talked a little while ago about, you know, why that investment is so worthwhile and the wonderful experience that students will have studying at a UK university. But we've had a few questions come in about the cost of an education in the UK. And Sita, I'd like to start with you. I wonder if you can just talk about, like, what are some of the resources out there for students to identify available funding and scholarships, and how can they go about sort of finding those alternate sources of funding for their education?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a huge concern for most students, so a really important question. I think probably one of the best places to start off with is to go to your university and see which scholarships options or funding options they have. You can kind of go down 2 routes, which is like the merit-based scholarship or the kind of financial aid-based scholarship, and see kind of which one works best for you. Other than your university, there's also government scholarships that you can look into. There are scholarships for particular countries. So say if you're coming from a Commonwealth country or from Asia, or from somewhere else, there are scholarships available for that as well. So there are heaps of different resources where you can look to find, and I'm sure Guy and Maggie can chip in and kind of provide a few more if I've missed anything out there.
Great. Yeah, Guy, I was going to turn to you next. I know you must get this question quite a lot from the students that SIUK works with. What resources would you suggest as far as finding options for funding?
Yes, absolutely. There are so many scholarships, partial scholarships, discounts for various reasons out there. And what we do at SIUK is we have a database so that we aggregate, collect information on all of them and aggregate it together, so that for the students, instead of having to go around university by university trying to find out what they offer, they can come to us and we are able to say what's out there. It can be very confusing, and as I say, there are all sorts of things available from the universities. So in one sense, unless you know exactly which university you're going to, if that's a significant factor in making your decision, then I'm bound to say come to SIUK. We have a database of all of them, and we will be happy to go through with you on that issue.
Great. Guy, I want to stick with you. I've got a question that I hope is a sort of quick fire one for you. Students asking, if I have UK citizenship, but I live outside of the UK, should I apply as a UK citizen or an international student?
Living outside of the UK, depends on how long they've been outside of the UK, but it's probably going to be needing to be an international student because of the residency rules in terms of getting funding from the UK.
Right, perfect.
Again, it's always complicated.
Of course. And we would obviously encourage students who have sort of unique circumstances around their applications or who have questions like that, particularly as it relates to citizenship and residency and things like that, which, as you said, can get a little bit confusing and can often be based on sort of the number of years you've been outside of the country or taxes you and your family have paid outside of the country. So for those kinds of really specific questions, we certainly encourage you to seek advising services at SIUK or similar so that you can make sure you've got the correct answer and that you're applying through the appropriate channels. Maggie, I have a question here from the audience about what will teaching methods look like for students enrolling in January? And I know that we are living in a world where things are changing. It seems sometimes by the hour, but definitely by the day, the week, the month. So maybe you can just give us some insight into how Imperial is approaching their plans for the coming January term, and even maybe looking ahead to beyond that, even just kind of how you're approaching those decisions and thinking of the welfare of your students.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a January start date. We started all of our students at the beginning of the autumn term as normal. And indeed, we started normal teaching, socially distanced and COVID safe, in all aspects, so including laboratory work. And in fact, our approach really has been to bring students onto campus when they really need to be there for practical work, but to do lectures and that sort of tutorial work online. And the plan is to continue with that as long as the whole situation doesn't get considerably worse. We're very, very focused on giving students a face-to-face opportunity wherever that is possible, and for the work that you really need to do face-to-face. And we want to continue doing that. I mean, there's an element of crystal ball gazing in all of this, of course, for all universities in the UK and across the world, because we just don't quite know what the path of this pandemic is going to look like. But I really want to emphasize that we will do face-to-face teaching where it's important and necessary for as long as is possible. Our staff are absolutely bought into that approach because we realise that that's a very, very important element of a student's education.
Yeah, that's very helpful. And I imagine, you know, like many of us working even in other industries and other settings, that the name of the game these days is really just sort of agility and the ability to, you know, pivot and adapt and change the way you do things at the drop of a hat if that has to be done, but also keeping in mind sort of the best interests of your students and your faculty members, and making sure that everyone is getting safely the best experience that they can.
Absolutely. And I think you just have to look at what the UK university sector did at the beginning of this and how quickly we flipped all of our teaching online where we had to. And that's true for the entire university sector in the UK. I mean, it's just extraordinary to see what was done almost overnight. And so we are very flexible, we're very agile. That's what universities are like, actually. That's what we're kind of famous for. So I think we will continue to be agile and respond. And obviously we talk to the government a lot about what might be coming. Students may have seen that our staff have been very, very engaged in advising government, in helping to develop vaccines, in using our technology for rapid testing, diagnostics, and so on. So our university has been very much leading in terms of dealing with the pandemic, so that our students can still have a great experience with us.
That's great. Thank you, Maggie. Guy, I'm going to turn back to you for a minute. We have a student asking, how much time will they allow me to stay in the UK after completing my degree to find a full-time job? And I think that's a really common sort of theme and question from students around, I've left my home country to study in the UK, and obviously for many, the hope is that they then find a job in the UK and are able to stay here and work. So if you could just make some sort of comments on what the policies are here in the UK about staying here and working, and how students might be able to find that work experience after they graduate.
Well, of course, this is the big thing coming up from this August is the 2-year post-study work visa. So they'll be able to, on graduation, stay for 2 years, except if it's a PhD they've just completed, when they'll have a 3-year post-study work visa. So that's the new situation. It used to be you just had a few months, and there were fairly rigid regulations about what sort of job you could do that, and you needed sponsorship and things like that. But from this year, if that student is graduating this coming year, they'll be able to take advantage of the 2-year post-study work visa.
Great.
And get that extra 2 years.
That's great. And we talked, there was a question a little while ago about how COVID and Brexit together have impacted employability in the UK. And sort of off the back of that, there's a further question just about, let me just make sure I can find it here. How will Brexit impact the applications of EU students for the 2021-2022 school year? And I think here we go again with the crystal ball gazing, as there seems to be quite a bit still up in the air. But Guy, if you're able to share, sort of any insight on that, I think it would be reassuring to students. Yeah,
complicated again. Although the basic thing is quite simple. So from the September intake, EU students will no longer be able to do what they've been doing over the last few years and take advantage of the funding. They'll be paying international student fees, basically. Now, this applies to EU students who are living still in the EU. EU students who are in this country and have pre-settled or settled status will still, for the next 5 years, be able to take advantage of the existing sort of arrangements. which basically treated EU students as home students, and they were able to access the funding from their own countries. So we're anticipating that this coming September will see some quite dramatic changes in the EU market. I think over the years to come, I think that'll settle out as fee arrangements also change on the continent, and perhaps the UK universities become more financially attractive again. But as international students, of course, it's going to be quite a big price hike. So we're anticipating that will make a big difference to students in the short run. So my advice would be, if you're settled and able, then you can still take advantage of those arrangements in the January intakes. Or if you're already in the UK, then you will probably be okay for the next few years. But if those things don't apply, then from next September, you will be treated in a different category. And I do anticipate that that's bound to have an impact on the number of EU students coming to the UK to study in at least the short run. And
Yeah.
There's no way of putting a gloss on that one, I don't think.
Well, I guess we will see. I know it's been a question for students, obviously, for a number of years now, as you know, we kind of just keep kicking the can down the road, and it seems that now it's poised to finally happen. So I think for students who are from the EU and are considering studying in the UK, the key is really plan ahead and understand what the implications will be if you're looking at next fall intake or later.
Well, and of course, I mean, you know, we're all aware of how advantageous, how good it's been for the university sector to have the EU students. So things do change, and we could see that that the government will make some adjustments over the next few months, because I think it's fair to say that none of us want to lose those EU students coming over here. That they really add to the general atmosphere of universities. So it could change.
Great. Not to monopolize your time, Guy, but I've got one other question that I hope will be just a quick one about students who are coming from non-English speaking countries, just generally around English proficiency requirements, what English proficiency tests they should look at, and what's accepted at universities.
Well, the universities here, it's another example of the flexibility that Maggie was talking about, have been very flexible in seeing what kind of English tests they can take, as well as the traditional IELTS. So they've been looking at other ones like Duolingo, like TOEFL and things, because quite often the IELTS centers have been closed and there's been a backlog. So where you're applying for a university degree, either undergraduate level or postgraduate level, you'll probably find that your university will take more than one English test. But if it's a non-English speaking country, they will want some generally accepted indicator of what your English proficiency is. If you're going for a foundation program, for instance, with one of the foundation providers like Kaplan or Navitas, people like that, then you will have to do an IELTS test, unless you're getting what's called a dual CAS, which takes you right through the foundation and into the degree. Otherwise, you will have to do an IELTS test, and nothing else will do in those circumstances.
Great. And I think, as you said, just sort of reiterating that message of flexibility and adaptability on the part of universities in the UK, and understanding that, you know, in certain parts of the world, it's going to be really difficult for students to get those exact credentials right now because testing centers are closed or they're operating on a limited basis. And so it's really reassuring for students to hear that universities are willing to work with them as an international applicant and find ways for them to complete their application in ways that may have not previously been available or accepted. So.
Oh, absolutely. They really have recognized the situation in all aspects of it. Yes, the going online, but also the need to be flexible around timetables and to understand the difficulties that students have had in their own countries in getting their results and things like that. And we've been so impressed with the way that the universities have responded to that and how helpful and understanding they've been. It's sort of brought out the best of everyone in these awful circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, we are just about out of time. So I want to first say thank you to the audience for the thoughtful and relevant questions. I know we did not get to all of the questions, so please don't forget that we have a wealth of tools and resources available to you through Times Higher Education and through our partners, Casita and SIUK. Also, remember to stay online for a presentation about the AWS Educate program. It's a really exciting opportunity for students in the UK and Ireland to learn and hone cloud computing skills while competing for prizes. And that presentation is going to start in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. And before I hand it over for that session, I of course want to say a final word of thanks to our panelists for your time and your expertise today. We know that there are some tough questions and there's a lot of uncertainty right now, but you being here has provided, I think, a great amount of confidence and reassurance to students that it is not only possible, but also desirable to come and study in the UK right now, and that universities their doors are open to international students in multiple ways. And so we really, really thank you for that. So with that, the panelists can go ahead and sign off. We've really enjoyed having you today. And I'm going to hand it over to our representative from Amazon Web Services Educate program to begin her presentation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aisha, and I am based in London. I'm a program manager with AWS Educate. And what that means is I work with educational institutions, so colleges, universities in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And I help them understand why they should be teaching cloud computing skills and how they can do that using the AWS Educate program. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So in terms of our agenda, I'll talk to you a little bit about what the cloud is and what is AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. And then we'll talk about what the AWS Educate program is. And then I'll leave time at the end to tell you a little bit about a challenge that we've launched for students in the UK and Ireland. I'll tell you how it works and the different types of winners and prizes that we're offering as well. And then at the end, we'll have questions. So if you have any questions, make sure you pop them in the chat and then we can go through them at the end. Okay, so what is the cloud, right? So cloud refers to the on-demand delivery of IT resources through the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. So you can think of it as similar to if you wanted to turn on a light switch in your house. So you turn on the switch and the power company sends through electricity and the light comes on. So cloud is quite similar in that way. So you can provision resources that you need. So things like storage, compute, networking, and different services, and you can turn it on and off as you need. So it's on a pay-as-you-go basis. And so many different industries are using cloud today. So automotive industries, healthcare sector, universities, you name it. So a lot of companies are using cloud because it benefits them in different ways. So why are these organizations actually moving over to the cloud? So a couple of different reasons. So first one is cost saving. So as I mentioned, it's pay-as-you-go pricing. So that means you don't need to guest capacity and pay for data servers and manage the data centers. So you're achieving cost savings in that sense. So that's quite compelling for customers. The other thing is elasticity. So you can scale up and scale down the resources as you need them. So you don't need to guess capacity, guess how many servers that you'd need. You simply take what you need and you can scale up and scale down as you need it. The other thing is this can also lead to innovation because you're not spending so much time focusing on guessing capacity, managing your servers. You have more time to actually spend on innovating on behalf of your customers. The other thing is cloud is global, so you can provision resources from anywhere in the world. And we have some quotes here from some of our customers, for example, Oxford University. Now, they were able to cut down their IT expense of digitization by about 60% through using AWS. So that's quite compelling. All right, so some numbers about cloud computing. So cloud computing has actually been ranked as a top skill according to LinkedIn since 2014. So if you look at the in-demand list, the in-demand skills as reported on by LinkedIn, you'll see that cloud computing has been a top skill since 2014. And then the other thing we're seeing is about 80% of enterprise IT will be moving over to the cloud by 2025, which isn't too far off. And 94% of workloads will be processed in the cloud by 2021, according to Cisco. So there's a huge demand in cloud computing. Lots of companies are moving over to the cloud. So what is AWS then? So AWS is Amazon Web Services. So we are part of Amazon, and we're currently the broadest and deepest cloud platform provider available today. So that means we have the most number of services and depth of services as well. We're also innovating at the fastest pace, so releasing lots of different services for our customers every year. And we have the largest global community of customers and partners available today. So we're a cloud computing services provider. So these are some of our customers. For example, Airbnb, which some of you may be aware of, Coursera, which offers online courses. And Coursera, for example, can handle about a half petabyte of data, half petabyte of traffic each month, thanks to using AWS. And Airbnb as well benefits from the scalability and agility provided by AWS as well. So if you'd like to find out a little bit more about some of our customers, you can go onto our website, aws.com, and then you can search for our customer stories. And then you can read about how our customers are using AWS. Okay, so what does this mean for you as a student? So as I mentioned earlier, cloud computing has been ranked as a top skill since 2014. What we're seeing is as a lot of companies are moving over to the cloud, there is an increasing demand for employees with cloud skills. So companies are looking for students that have cloud skills. And at the moment, what we can see is there are more jobs than there are candidates. So hiring is a challenge because companies are looking for people with those cloud skills, but there aren't enough of them to meet that demand. So as a student, you need those cloud skills if you're interested in filling some of these jobs. So this is where AWS Educate comes in. So AWS Educate is Amazon's global initiative, and our goal is to help to accelerate that cloud learning and prepare students like you for the cloud-enabled jobs of tomorrow. Now, Educate is a global program, but I just want to note for students based in Europe, you have to be 16 years and above. So as long as you're a student, so in any kind of college, university, you can access the AWS Educate program. And what do you actually receive as a student? So you receive access to our self-paced online cloud career pathways and badges. So this is our online content, and I'll tell you a little bit about our badges and our pathways in a minute. But this content helps to prepare you and give you those cloud skills. You also get access to hands-on learning. So using AWS promotional credit, that's what we call it. As I mentioned earlier, our customers pay as you go. So our customers actually buy these AWS credits from us and they use it to pay towards using our services. Now we give you those credits at no cost so that you can actually start practicing what you're learning. The other thing is for students, we have a job board. So you can actually go in there and apply for jobs with our customers and our partners and ourselves as well. All right, so how do you sign up to AWS Educate? So it's pretty easy. You just go to awseducate.com to sign up and make sure you enter in your student email address when you're signing up. So what are the cloud career pathways that I mentioned? So these are the cloud career pathways that we have. There's about 12 of them, and they're all based on specific job roles. So you see the names are names of jobs. So like cloud support associate, for example, software development engineer, machine learning scientist. So all of these pathways help you to understand the skills that you need to do any of these jobs. And each of them is about 25 to 50 hours of content. It's a mixture of text, there's videos, there's quizzes, and different knowledge checks as you go through them. So Cloud Career Pathways are an excellent way to get an insight into specific job roles. So if you're curious, okay, what does it take to be a data scientist? What sort of skills do I need? You can take those pathways. And when you complete any of our pathways, you get a certificate of completion, which is emailed to you. All right, so we also have what we call badges. So these badges are smaller chunks of knowledge. So while the pathways are about 25 to 50 hours, these are about 8 to 10 hours, and they're based on specific services. So we have an Alexa badge, for example. So that's a great place for students to learn how to build an Alexa skill, for example. And we have a RoboMaker badge, which is a good way to learn about robotics and which services that we have in the robotics field. And we also have a startups badge. So for students who are interested in starting their own business, it's a good way to have a sense of which services we have, which will help your leap to being a founder a lot easier. So badges are also available for you through our program. And once you take any of these badges, you'll be able to download them and pop them onto your CV as well. All right, so over to the job board. So this is what our job board looks like. And you can search for jobs using our job board. We've got thousands of jobs on there, different countries. So if you're in a different country to the UK, you can look at jobs in your region as well. And it's jobs from us and our customers and our partners as well. Okay, so what is the AWS Educate Challenge? So this is a challenge that we've launched for students in the UK and Ireland. So it's an inter-university challenge, and students from the UK and Ireland can compete to stand a chance to win trophies for their university, some Amazon vouchers, Alexa devices, and they also get an invitation to virtually meet with our student recruiters, so based in London and in Dublin. How does it actually work? So students sign up to the challenge through a webpage, and they have to complete as many of the AWS Educate pathways and badges as possible by 23rd of November. And we're going to assign points based upon the completion of the pathways and the badges. And at the end of the challenge period, we'll count up the points, and we're selecting the winners based on the number of points they've accumulated. So the more points you have, that means you've completed more pathways and badges. So what are some of the prizes and who is a winner? So we're looking at the top 30 students with the most number of points. So we're counting the UK and Ireland separately. So top 30 students in UK and top 30 students in Ireland. And what they'll receive is an Alexa device, and they'll also get Amazon vouchers. So first to 10th place will get a £200 voucher, 11th to 20th place, £150 voucher, and 21st to 30th place, £100 voucher. And in addition to that, they'll also get to meet with our recruiters. It's going to be a virtual meeting where they'll get CV and interview coaching. They'll also get insights into jobs from AWS employees. So employees actually doing specific roles, they'll get to hear from them and understand what it takes to actually do those job roles. And then there'll also be an insight from hiring managers on what they look for in candidates. So you can hear from hiring managers what they actually look for when they're hiring, what sorts of graduates they look for or interns, and what are the skills that they need. And then the top 10 universities with the most number of student points will actually win a trophy as well. Okay, so this is our point system. Now, any of the badges that I showed you, they all get you 3 points. And then our entry pathways are 5 points, intermediate pathways are 7, and the advanced ones are 10 points. So these are the pathways and the badges, again, just as a reminder. So you can see they're split by entry, intermediate, and advanced as well. Okay, so what is the timeline here? So the challenge ends on 23rd November. So if you're a student in the UK or Ireland university, make sure you sign up and you start completing those pathways and badges. And on the 23rd of November, the challenge will end. And between the 24th and the 25th of November, we're going to contact the winners for their prize giveaway. And then we'll have the virtual session with the recruiters and AWS teams on the 2nd of December. All right, so where are we at the moment? So this is the current leaderboard. So Staffordshire University is in number 1, and these are the top 10 universities at the moment. So if you want to get your university in the top 10 list, start completing those pathways. All right, so that's everything from me. So now I'll pause for any questions, and I will stop sharing my screen as well.
Great, thank you so much. We have just a couple of questions that have popped in from students. One, just confirming if you're an international student, but you're studying in the UK or Ireland, you're still eligible to participate, if you can just confirm that.
Yeah, so as long as you are part of a UK and Ireland university and a resident as well. So we do need you to actually be a resident in UK and Ireland. So that means you're actually studying here, so yeah.
Okay. Fab. So international students, but who are studying and living in the UK and Ireland are definitely eligible. Great. And then another question from the audience, just wondering if there's any discussions about this type of program being available more globally in the future. I think they're really excited about it, but aren't sure if they'll be studying in the UK.
So this is the first time that we've launched this. We're going to see how it goes, and then we can look at doing things like scaling it globally.
Great. Any other questions from the audience? Feel free to just pop them into the Q&A and we'll make sure we get them answered for you. Give just a minute for anyone else to drop in with a question. If this is something they're interested in, if they're at a university in the UK or Ireland, what's the best way for them to get in touch to have further questions answered or to get more information?
So we actually are going to send the link to the website. So there's a lot of frequently asked questions there. So they'll probably answer some of the questions you might have. If not, if you just go to awseducate.com, there's a contact us link on our site as well. So you can reach out to our customer team and we'll be able to answer your questions.
Cool. Fabulous. I think that's it. I don't see any other questions that you didn't already answer. A few questions came in kind of during your presentation and you answered them as you went on, so that's great. Thank you so very much for your time and for the students who stayed online to hear this. I think it's a really exciting opportunity for students who are studying in the UK and something great for students who are thinking about studying in the UK to be aware of that, you know, if they start in January or in next fall, it's definitely something they should keep an eye out for because it's a great opportunity for them to learn more.
Yeah, and just wanted to say, so the challenge, it's just a challenge that's UK and Ireland specific. So the Educate program, even if you're not studying in the UK and Ireland, it's a global program, so you can actually enroll. So just go to awseducate.com and you can sign up and access the program.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much for joining us. And as she said, more information will be sent to you from registering for this session. You'll get some additional information from them. And then obviously their website is a great resource as well. Anyway, thanks everyone who joined us today, and we will see you soon for our next International Student Seminar.